We have a lot of great runners on the podcast, but today's guest, Molly Bookmyer, is without a doubt one of the most inspiring interviews I've done. I wouldn't possibly try to cover her full list of race accomplishments, but since overcoming 2 brain surgeries while finishing her studies at Ohio State, she's gone on to achieve a marathon personal best of 2:28 while winning the 2024 Twin Cities Marathon. And just recently in Houston, she ran a 1:09 half marathon in her build-up for the London Marathon, which will be only a couple weeks after this episode airs. I should add, she told me she actually fell during that half marathon race, which makes it even more impressive if that's possible. You won't find her on Strava, as I learned in our chat, so this is really your only chance to hear about her story, including things like how she manages elite level training with 120 plus mile weeks after recovering from injury setbacks and while balancing a full-time job, as well as her goals for London, so you can cheer her on from back home. So that's enough of me, and let's get into the interview. Alright, I am with a pro runner today who has maybe not taken the most traditional route when it comes to running, but has really stormed onto the pro running scene. Molly, I really appreciate you joining me today.
Thanks, Corey. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm really excited to have you, and I think this is such perfect timing because if I understand right, you're in the thick of marathon training right now, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm about a month out from the London Marathon, so hitting some of my biggest weeks right before taper. So I am in the thick of training and I'm feeling pretty good.
And how are you feeling? Are you kind of disappointed training's coming to an end, or are you just really ready for the taper at this point?
I mean, I love training, so I'm never like looking forward to the taper. I think I'm just getting maybe a little anxious and a little nervous about the race just because it's such a big race and you put in a lot of work and I put in a lot of work for this race. So I'm probably feeling a little bit anxious, but yeah, feeling confident, I think, you know?
That's a good sign. I'm
Yeah.
rooting for you. For anyone who's listening and maybe hasn't heard your name before, and maybe even those who aren't listening will have heard of you after London Marathon, how would you describe yourself? Who is Molly Bookmyer? I guess the runner and even beyond that.
Yeah. Oh, that's a tough question. So I guess I just feel like I am somebody who just loves running. So I have a little bit of a different background than a lot of the other pro runners on the running scene. I ran in high school and college, but I was a walk-on on college, so never on scholarship. I only ran 3 years of cross country and 2 years of track. I kind of then totally got away from the sport for some health reasons for a while. So I guess I'm just somebody who got into running because they loved it a lot and just really want to see how good I can be. And so that kind of is what keeps me going.
Yeah, and when it comes to running, what is your favorite part about the sport?
I think just the time away. When I'm running, I feel like the most alive, like when you're chasing after goal and you're just out there running and working hard. I don't know. I think that's when I feel like the most connected to myself and my mind. And it's the time can get away from like all the stressors of life. And so I think that's what I like the most about it.
Are you somebody who likes to see running as more of an escape and run solo, or do you really thrive on the social aspect and being around other runners?
Um, so I like both sides of it. So I train mostly alone. So I live in Columbus, Ohio, and most of my training I do alone. But it's not that I don't enjoy running with people. So, sometimes if I'm able to, I'll hook up with a couple women who live here in town. My coach is local, so sometimes he'll come to my workouts or we'll do easy runs together. My husband bikes with me a lot on my really long marathon effort paces and stuff and gets me like my fuel and Columbus, oddly enough, I'm sure with like a lot of cities, actually has a really big running community with just um, the local running stores, and so they're always out there on the bike path, like running and training. So I feel connected to running that way. But from like my daily runs, I train mostly alone, and I think I've just kind of gotten used to it. And running has gotten me through some really really hard times in my life. And so I think I enjoy it running solo, but when I have the opportunity to run with people, um, I like that too.
Darn, Molly, you're just too fast to run with other people.
That's not true.
So Well, maybe that's not quite true, but you're definitely speedy. I of course know the answer to this question as I ask it, but do you mind telling people what is your marathon PR and maybe some of your other prouder accomplishments as a runner?
Yeah, so my marathon PR is 2:28 um 40 something. So I'm just gonna say 2:28, and then I ran that this past fall, and then a couple months ago in Houston I broke the 110 barrier, so I ran like 109 at the Houston half marathon, which I'm proud of. However, I fell at the start of the race. There was a couple women who went down at the start of the race, so it's one of those things where I wish I didn't fall, and maybe I could have ran a little bit faster. But you got to take it for what it is. And yeah, I mean, I think I'm just excited because I keep getting better and I keep executing my races a little bit better. So I think the thing I'm most proud of is just like continuing to get better and not giving up when things have been kind of tough and injuries strike and other things happen in life that maybe set you back a little bit.
That's pretty crazy. I think I had known about the 109 half marathon at Houston, but I had no idea you fell running that. And to me, I think a 109 half marathon is probably already perhaps even a faster equivalent than a 2:28. Do you feel like you're in the best shape of your life right now?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think I'm faster than my 2:28. I mean, when I ran the 2:28, um, it was it wasn't a super flat course, and I ran it totally solo. And um, it's kind of tough. We had some family stuff going on like 10 days before the race. Unfortunately, my father-in-law passed away, so there's a lot of stuff that went into that race that made it kind of tough. But yeah, I would say right now training's going really well, and Houston was a good kickstart to my season. And I would say the marathon's a beast, so I don't want to say that I'm faster or slower, but I definitely think that I can do better. And I think if I get on the right course on a good day and I execute how I've been running in my training, that I am hopeful that I can run a faster time.
Well, based on what I've heard already, I think there's a pretty good chance of that.
Yeah.
I think you mentioned a little bit about having to take some time off running, some injuries. Do you mind telling us a little bit more about that?
Yeah. If I go way back, so in college, I stopped running because I had a stress fracture in my shin, and during all the different tests to figure out, I wanted to get to the root causes, like why I was getting stress fractures. Because also in high school I had some other injuries, and one thing led to another, and I had some elevated hormone levels that led to getting a brain MRI. And when they did the brain MRI, they were looking for something by my pituitary gland, but they also found another brain tumor located in one of the ventricles of my brain. So we followed it for like 2 years, and the tumor just through like MRIs. I would get MRIs every couple months, and um, they had a good idea it wasn't cancerous, so it wasn't something that was super urgent to get done. I had like spinal taps where they like stick a needle in your spine to get the spinal fluid to make sure there were no cancer cells. But it kept growing, so after a couple years, I had brain surgery to move the tumor in 2015. And then I actually had to have an emergency surgery just due to some complications a couple months later. And then um, I kind of got back. I wasn't running, but I was able to like walk on the treadmill and slowly got back to wanting to run. And later that year, while I was running on a treadmill after work one day, I suffered a seizure. So then I had to start taking seizure medication. But then since I was a runner before, running just kind of fit my life as a way to stay healthy. So I slowly got back into running um, as a way to just get healthy again, and to yeah, mostly just get healthy and strong again, and exercise. And unfortunately, 2 years later, I was getting married to my husband, and we went on our honeymoon, and then we got back from a honeymoon, and he was complaining about some pain in his abdomen and his back or whatever, and he got some tests done, and then he found out that he had cancer. So all this time, he was diagnosed with cancer and he had to go through surgeries and stuff. And so at that point, I really turned to running, not competitively at all, but just as a way to maybe take care of myself, because I was the primary caretaker for him here. So at that point, I kind of got back to running, probably more as just like a stress reliever, but it's something I did like every day. And I think that was kind of my start of like getting into running, and using it as a way to release some stress, and kind of fell back in love with running at that time.
And firstly, I'm sorry about everything you went through, but so impressive how you managed to bounce back. And you described to me feeling like you were fully healthy now. But as you were going through all of that, what was your headspace at the time? And did you always know you wanted to get back to professional running, or did you think there was a good chance it would just kind of stay as a stress reliever?
Yeah, so I never thought I would become like a pro runner. Or run at this level. It's just I just always loved running, and like even in college, I wasn't a superstar in college. Like I said, I was a walk on the college team. So I think, um, while my husband was going through treatments, I kind of made a goal to run a marathon, and then I ended up running grandma's marathon, in a 2:46, and at the time the OTQ standard was 2:45. And that's kind of what then led me to think like, okay, if I'm so close to, I was coaching myself, just running, using it as stress reliever for my husband, not really fueling. And if I thought if I was that close to, the OTQ standard at the time, if I put a little more effort into it, could I hit that standard? And I think that's kind of what kicked off my drive to get better and to start hit these standards, and then to qualify at that time as the 2020 trials, to qualify to the 2020 trials. And then from there, I just kept getting faster and faster and faster, and my goals keep getting higher and higher and higher.
So this was in 2020. You ran a 2:45, and then is that
Uh,
right?
so it was in, so I qualified for the 2020 Olympic trials. So in 2018, I ran the 2:44, and then, I to get the standard, or maybe it's 2019 to get the standard. But then and then I kind of kicked off a season, and I ran the 25K champs, so the U.S. champs, and I ended up finishing third, in the 25K champs that year, which was my first ever U.S. championship race, and I think I was behind like Sarah Hall and Emma Bates, so it was a good field of women, and I like never ran a U.S. championship race before, so that so then that kicked off like a good. I thought it was going to be this great progression to go to the 2020 trials. Unfortunately, after that, I ended up getting a sacral stress fracture, that summer. And then I tried to come back, in time to go to the 2020 trials, which was Feb of 2020. And like the week or two before the 2020 trials, I was diagnosed with a femoral neck stress fracture. So probably can try to come back a little bit too quick. I don't know, hindsight. Um, but I never made it to the start line of the 2020 trials. So, but yeah, at that time my PR was 2:44.
Yep. This is maybe a dad joke to make on the podcast, but I have to say I think it's great that you made reference to the saying hindsight is 2020 for the 2020 trials.
I know. Yeah. Yeah, I know. I mean, and then COVID hit, so I don't know. It was a crazy time.
Yeah. So at what point were you able to get back to racing? Because I think for most runners, 2020 after the trials, it was pretty much like weeks afterwards that everything shut down.
Yeah, I didn't race for a while. So because I was diagnosed with a femoral stress fracture right before the trials. And I was just coming back from a sacral stress fracture. So at that time I was like, I don't even care about like getting back to racing. The world shut down. I just want to be healthy. Like I just want to be able to run, like, and not have these bone injuries. So I took a really long time, to make sure I was like fully healed, and took a lot of time off running. I just did a lot of I did a lot of biking in my basement. All the apps were like for free because it was COVID. So I took a lot of time off running, and then, I guess I kind of got back into it maybe 2021, 2022. Started racing again.
Yeah, let me know if this is not quite how you felt, but I wonder if it almost helped during that time to be going in with an injury. I guess a lot of people might have been feeling like they lost something or were losing times when they were in peak fitness, whereas it sounds like you were really able to kind of bounce back and get back to fitness during that time.
Yeah, so I told somebody this about COVID. So when I had my brain surgeries and my husband had cancer, I felt like my world stopped and everybody else got to keep living their life, right? Like I'm in the hospital, I'm doing all these scans, I'm having all these surgeries. I can't do anything, I can't run, I can't exercise. Like my life, I was living in the hospital. I had to live at home with my parents. I couldn't work. And then my husband had cancer. So I feel like at that time my life stopped and everybody else got to keep living. And in a weird way, COVID, the entire world stopped, and I know it was hard for a lot of people, but at the same time, for me, it was like, yes, I can't race, but nobody can race. So it was kind of that other, like, kind of like you said, I looked at it a little bit differently. I was like, we're kind of all in this together, like everybody shut down. We're all in the same position. So, like, let's make the most of it. So, kind of a different experience for me. Things happen, everybody had things happen, jobs changed, and there's a lot of stuff that happened during COVID. But I mean, I was fortunate, like, I don't think I ever got COVID, and we were pretty healthy through the time, but yeah, it was different, and I'm just happy that I was able to get through it, and um, luckily I didn't lose anybody to to it. So yeah.
Yeah, that's an optimistic outtake on it. I think that shows a lot of resilience that you're able to look back on it that way.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you can't change the past, unfortunately. I wish I could change some of the things that have happened, but we can't, so just got to keep moving forward.
Yeah, definitely. So, fast forwarding just a little bit, you talked about the 2020 trials coming in with injuries and maybe not
Hmm.
going exactly the way you wanted. Fast forward to 2024. At this point, you'd run your PB
Hmm.
228 to hit an already tough standard of 237. Can you tell us a little bit about that race and how that maybe also didn't go exactly how you had envisioned?
Yeah, so going into the 2024 trials, I think my PR was like 230. Um, and again, I thought I was like super, super fit going into the trials. But something I've always struggled with is nutrition. And I think it's something that I think has plagued me for a long time in my athletic career. Like I would get sick in races. I ran like a Houston Marathon in 2022, and I mean I think I ran like a 231 or 232, and I was get like the last 8 miles, 10 miles. I mean this might be TMI, but like I was pooping blood the entire end of the race, and I wasn't taking any nutrition, and it was really really terrible. But eventually, after like some tests, I went and saw a doctor, and they diagnosed me with celiac disease. And so I cut out all gluten, and I changed my diet completely. And so that definitely helped me in my training. But unfortunately, I thought I had most of it under control, but I think looking back, I was still suffering sometimes in some workouts and some races where my stomach wasn't cooperating. And unfortunately, at the 2024 trials, um, same thing happened. Like maybe 12 miles into the race, my stomach just started really hurting. And I got sick in the race, and I ended up dropping out of the trials, which, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty devastated at the time. I took it pretty hard. It was just, you put so much work into one day, and to not even be able to finish the race. And it's not like if I could have finished, I would have, but I ran a marathon one time and I finished the marathon one time pooping blood for the last half of the race, and it is a terrible, terrible experience. And it was hot that day. It was not going to go well. So I had to end my race early. So yeah, that was a tough day, but I have a lot of learnings coming out of it. Um, so we can get into those learnings. Um,
Yeah, for sure.
okay.
Well, first of all, there's no such thing as TMI on a running podcast. We've all been
Yeah.
there, so totally
Yeah.
understand. But yeah, definitely get into what came of that race.
Yeah, so I'm not gonna lie, like I was kind of at my breaking point after that race where it was kind of like, do I want to keep doing this or not? Because it's really not fun to. I was like lining up for these races and I wasn't confident in if I could take nutrition. And you can't run a marathon if you can't take nutrition. You have to be able to take nutrition. And so many people told me different things of like that I listened to, and I tried different things. Like some doctors would suggest taking Imodium, but like my stomach hurt. Taking Imodium, I don't think is the right thing. Like that's not actually going to help me if my stomach's hurting. So I was on a quest to find like an answer. So I was able to get into some GI doctors. And one doctor, he told me like I had really skinny veins or something and I might need surgery. But then I talked to another doctor and I still remember because I left the doctor and I was like, he doesn't know anything. Like this is not going to help me. But he suggested that I start taking fiber every night. And um, so that was probably like March or April of last year that I started taking fiber. And honestly, it's like it sounds really silly, but it's changed my life and my fueling. I don't like now I'm able to fuel on all my runs and my races, and I never get sick anymore. Which like just being able to be healthy and take fuel and run the races, and honestly just being confident going into a race that I'm not gonna get sick, has been like life changing. So yeah, it was a really tough moment at the time, and I really felt really helpless, just because a lot of runners will be like, it's just a runner thing, right? And maybe if it happens like once or twice, it's a runner thing, but if it's happening every day, it's not a runner thing. And people deserve to get some answers and be able to be healthy and running and not have it affect their daily life.
Yeah, it really sounds like invalidating to have somebody tell you just take Imodium and that'll fix everything. But I think a lot of it comes down to a disconnect between kind of traditional medical knowledge and athletics, because I think really the medical needs of athletes, especially at such a high performance level like yourself, are so different.
Yeah. And it's just, I think also taking the time to like understand like how much it's affecting somebody's life. Because it wasn't just affecting me like in races. Like I had a previous coach who told me, oh, your heart rate's just too high and you're not able to take in fueling. Well, my heart rate's not that high. And it's happening on easy runs too. So just like listening to advice that I believed for a long time. And then I look back and I think through it and I'm like, it was happening on my easy runs. My heart rate's like 120. Like that, it doesn't make sense. And so it just took a really, really long time. And unfortunately, like I would go to races and I wouldn't fuel for the races because I'd be so afraid that I was going to get sick. So I think it affected my performance for a long time. So sometimes I get a little frustrated when I think about it, like, oh man, if I would have learned this a couple of years earlier, but I didn't, and so I just have to put it to good use now. And maybe somebody listening can learn something and can give it a try if they're struggling with something similar.
Yeah, and I don't want to turn this too much into a nutrition specific podcast, but I'm really curious about this fiber piece in particular, because a lot of the time around runs or workouts, I personally try to avoid having too much fiber, and I know that can cause GI distress. So do you have any insights as to how that was able to help?
Yeah, well, so I don't know all the technicals, but I mean, I still remember because I am not. I was like, I left the doctor and I like came home and I was like, he doesn't know anything. Like, I was telling my husband I was totally hating on this doctor. I apologized to him later because I was like, you were right. But he just said it sounds super counterintuitive. But the difference is like it kind of like maybe bulks it up a little bit. And so that like then if you have to go to the bathroom, it's like not an urgent thing. And it's not like because I was having like it's like bloody diarrhea like every day. And so the difference is like it just kind of it bulks everything up a little bit more. And so that it just helps maybe regulate you some. And then it's not like an urgent thing that's happening. So I don't know all the science behind it. I just know that it has changed my life. So yeah.
That's pretty cool. And then on the celiac front,
Yeah.
You're probably taking in a lot of carbs as an athlete, putting in a lot of mileage.
Yeah.
How do you get it all in while making sure that you're not taking anything that's going to upset your stomach?
Yeah, so that was a really big learning experience for me too. Like I said, I think when I was first diagnosed with celiac, like I don't think I was taking enough nutrition at the time because I was so afraid to eat because I was getting sick all the time. Like I was still getting sick even once I started cutting out gluten. Because it was, first you have to learn everything that has gluten, like soy sauce. You can't have soy sauce. I didn't know those type of things, so it just took me a while to learn how to change eating, but now, I mean, luckily, gluten free is kind of like a trend. So there's so many options out there that are gluten free options. And then when it comes to like traveling to races, I try to stay like super consistent. So I always eat Chipotle the night before the race. Very simple. I mean, typically when I go to the races, there's a Chipotle within like a mile to 2 miles of my hotel. So you can get rice, very consistent. I know it works for me. And then I travel with all my other food. So like I'll bring bagels that like they have gluten free bagels. So I'll pack my gluten free bagels, and I'll bring honey with me. And there's a lot of like fruit snacks are a good option to add in, or like raisins are really good to add in, or they have banana. Like there's a lot of fruits and dried fruits and simple carbs and stuff that have gluten-free options. It's just choosing this over that. And like I said, I always pack everything I need to the races just to make sure number one I'm eating enough. So I'll lay everything out. Like I know I need like, I don't know, I think it's like 400 to 500 grams of carbs a day, like leading into a marathon. So I lay it all out, make sure I'm packing enough food, make sure I'm eating enough food. And then if I have my gluten free stuff with me, I don't have to worry about like if I go to a restaurant if it's going to be gluten free or not. But like I said, luckily these days, there are a lot of options out there for people. So yeah.
Yeah, I kind of chuckled a little bit when the first one you mentioned was Chipotle, because we actually somewhat recently had an episode with somebody from Chipotle talking about the Strava Challenge, if you've heard of it.
I did hear, yeah, I heard of that. Yeah. Well, that's cool. I mean, what I don't know, I'm actually not on Strava, so I don't exactly know what the challenge was, but I saw on like Instagram people talk about the Strava challenge.
Very cool. So if you're not on Strava, do you track your mileage at all, or do you go completely by feel and use a stopwatch?
No, I have a Garmin and my coach uses Final Surge. So I track my mileage that way. I don't know, I think running is really personal to me, and like I said, like it helped me get through some really, really hard times in my life. And I don't know, I just want to I want to make myself proud, and I know the workouts I need to do, and I'm doing like I do what my coach tells me to do. So I don't know. One time somebody suggested I make a Strava, and I made a Strava, and it like made me feel really dirty. Like it just was like not me. Like it was just not. It's not like I felt like it was like another thing for me to do, and so then I ended up deleting it. It's not that I don't want people to see what I'm doing. I don't know.
Yeah, I get it. I think as much as athletes like to think it's not the same as social media, I think it still has a lot of those same elements of, comparison and oftentimes trying to portray some type of perfect training that really doesn't exist, even at the elite level.
Yeah, and like I work full time, so I honestly don't even know how it works. Like, I don't know, do I have to like log in and do I have to make up with a fun saying and like say what my workout was? Like it just sounds like another thing I have to do, and I just like don't have the I don't have the mental space. Like right, I'm running like in the morning before work, I'm running after work, and I'm tired and I'm I have to come home and I have to shower and get ready for work and put my mental energy into my work that I don't have time to like think about another thing of where to log my training, because I also like need to talk to my coach and tell him like how did I feel in the workout? What workouts like what were my splits? Did I feel good? Did I feel like I was like overexerting myself? And so I feel like my after my workouts I'm spending my time like calling my coach and talking to my coach about my workouts. So having to do it in another place, I don't know, just seems a little overwhelming for me, I think.
Yeah, I get it. I
Does that
think a
make
lot of
sense?
runners, Yeah,
Yeah.
I think a lot of runners, including myself, could learn something about spending your time thinking about what you can learn from your runs and not about what your funny Strava title is going to be.
Maybe I'm just not clever enough. Maybe that's the problem. I don't know. I don't know.
There are sites online that will generate titles for you, or you can just, go with the default morning run, afternoon run.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe one day, but it just stresses me out right now, so anything that stresses me out, it's probably just gonna cross it off the list.
Yeah, I could understand that. I do at some point in this podcast want to get to, I know the big race on the calendar, which is London, but I do want to
Yeah.
take one other step back because as I was going over your running career, there was one race that you had run which stood out, which is the Toronto Marathon, because that's where I was from. So what did you think of that race?
That was an interesting one. So I definitely thought I could have ran faster in that race. I think it I think it was the weather was really tough when I did it. It was really windy that year. I mean, I remember it was windy the whole race, and I think everybody thought it was like the windy, like really windy. So I don't think anybody ran as fast as I thought. I mean, I think I ran like 2:30, 16. I don't know, just over 2:30, and I definitely thought I was going to be able to run under 2:30, and I did not. So I was a little disappointed in that aspect of it. Also, the night before, the fire alarm went off in our hotel room, so
Oh
we had like
no.
walk down like at like 3 a.m. We had like walk down like 30 flights of stairs and like sit outside as the fire trucks came. So, but the race was, I mean, the organizers, it was fantastic, and the race experience was fabulous. So I definitely enjoyed like the race weekend and all of that stuff. I just coming away from the race, I thought the weather was a little tough. I definitely thought I could have run faster that day, but and the fire alarm was I was not ready for that, you know.
Yeah, that's definitely
But
tricky at 3 a.m.
yeah, everybody was walking out of their hotels, and I think everybody kind of was thinking the same thing. Like, is this real? It was real. I think there was like a little fire in the kitchen or something. So yeah,
And were you staying with all the elites? Like, was everyone in
yeah,
the field impacted?
yeah. Everybody was impacted. But yeah, but I think we all kind of felt the same way. So yeah, it was. I mean, I was thinking, I don't know. I might want like maybe one day I'll do it again. I think if it's good weather, I think you can run really fast there. I think we just had a really windy day, so I think the times were a little bit slower. Um, but that's okay.
Yeah, well, I hope you do come back because I think it's an
Yeah,
awesome course, and I actually
yeah.
ran it just the year before you. Funny
Okay.
enough, probably in much better weather, but a similar-ish time. But I got lucky that there was not much wind that time.
Yeah, yeah. I think just because it's on the water, so I think it probably just depends if but yeah, I don't know. The weekend was really fun. I don't know. There was 1 mile I didn't even think I was like moving. I was like, man, I don't know. When it hits, the wind is tough. Wind is probably my least favorite thing, but yeah.
All right, and last time I dwell on the Toronto Marathon, but curious what you think of that last kilometer because there's like this very subtle uphill that you would never notice if you're not running a marathon, but it just feels terrible at the end of the race.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, I feel like to me that wasn't the worst part of the race because I think isn't there was it like mile 15 or 16 you go like out and back or something like there's like a little add-on. And I think it was just because of the wind that day. I think that was the hardest part of the race than that little incline at the end. But um, but yeah, those
Yeah,
those ending teasers that they always make it tricky.
yes,
We
yes,
just
they
want
do.
downhill finish. Why can't everything just be flat and downhill with a tailwind?
That sounds great. Every race should be like that.
Right? I know.
I mean, technically, Boston is downhill at the end, but I don't know that that makes it a fast course.
I've never run Boston. One I definitely want to run Boston. But yeah, the weather there can be tricky too. So you never know.
Yes, definitely known for its tricky weather.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go back to the big one coming up now, London
hmm
Marathon. As we're recording this, we're now 4 weeks out.
hmm
What does your training look like leading up to it, and how is training going?
Yeah, I think training's going really well. My mileage has been pretty consistent. I average like 115 to 120 miles a week. Pretty consistent there. we've done a couple like really long. So I run my longest run, just easy run. So I run 26 miles. So my longest run, but I've done a couple other ones like 22 to 24 miles. So definitely getting in the long easy miles. And then we've been working like the I do a couple workouts a week. So typically like I'll do one shorter track workout. Um, Whether it's like 20 by 400 or something along those lines. And then I'll do a longer, like, threshold type of workout. So, I don't know. I've done like mile and a half repeats, 2 mile repeats, 4 mile, well, like 2 by 4 miles. So, just all sorts of different, like, longer reps. But I think training is going really well. And, I'm comfortable with where my fitness is at. And I've been staying pretty healthy. And I do a lot of PT work. So, I today I feel pretty confident in my training. Just working to keep the mind straight and get through these next couple weeks.
Yeah, and you mentioned already on the podcast that you have a full-time job.
Hmm.
What is it that you do for work, and how do you fit 115-mile weeks around that?
Yeah, so I my degree's in supply chain in operations management. So I am a senior category planner. So I plan inventory and sales for a company. They're called Hawthorne Gardening Company, and my job is remote. So I used to not have a remote position, but I got into this job. I knew the VP and director from previous jobs that I had, and so I've been here for like 3 years now. And so I think having the flexibility with a remote job helps out a lot. I definitely still have the typical like 9 to 5 like hours, but I don't know. I think I've never not worked. So it's just what I'm used to, and I think I don't have to commute anymore like I used to commute, so that saves time in the day. And I'm able to squeeze in 20 minutes of cord throughout the day during lunch or something at home. So I have a bit more flexibility there. But and I also run I run from my home most days on my easy runs. And there's a track. I go to the high school track is only a mile away, so I don't have a long travel to like my workouts either. So I just make it work.
And I'm assuming you're doing a lot of doubles, so probably at
Yeah.
least one in the morning. What time do you have to wake up, I guess, to get your runs in?
I mean, I wake up at like, if I'm doing like a big workout, I'll wake up at like 4:30, 4:45, just to make sure I get enough fuel in before. But it's different with the time. Time change kind of throws me off because now we're back and now. Before it was like I don't like to run in, so I don't like to run in the dark because I'm running by myself. So I do. I don't. I will wait till the sun comes up, which right now is like 7:15 to 7:30 to start my workouts. But as long as I'm home by 9, you know, that's all I need.
As a fellow morning runner, can we take a moment to complain about daylight savings? Because I feel like I'm the only person who's not happy about the extra daylight at the
I
end of the day.
I know. I'm like, man, I go to bed at like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. I don't need time at night. I need it in the morning. You know that that hit me. It hit me hard this spring because it does. That extra hour in the morning to get ready for work. Just because I don't know, these workouts I'm doing are tough. And so to do the workouts, after work, kudos to the people who can do it after work. I used to do workouts after work, and I mean, doing hard workouts after 8 9 hours at work, and that's tough. It's a whole nother way to train your brain to be tough. um, yeah, but yeah.
Yeah, it'll definitely teach you to be tough to go down to the track and run, mile repeats at 5:20 pace or whatever you're doing in pretty much pitch black.
Yeah, yes. So I don't know. Yeah, I know. I do wish that we still had an extra hour in the morning, but I gotta make do with what we have, I guess.
Yeah, no, and by the time you get close to London Marathon, it's nice when it's of course it's like right when you're in the taper that
Yeah.
and you're running less mileage, you start to get more daylight.
I know. It's not, and it's like, man, but I don't know what the weather's like by you. It's just like Ohio gets so gray though too. It's not I don't know. I'm just gonna complain about the weather for a second. I just want some sun. Just want some blue sky, sunny weather to run in, you know.
Yeah, I just want it to be 10 degrees, cool, clear, no wind every day. Is that too much to ask for?
I know. But,
I know, you can't have them all.
yeah.
So, when it comes to training, you mentioned putting your workouts into Final Surge.
hmm
As I understand it, you've somewhat recently started working with McCurdy Trained. When did you make that shift and how is it going?
So I'm actually not with them anymore.
Okay.
I haven't been with them for like over 2 years. So I was coached by them for two years, and then it just wasn't working out, and I wasn't performing the way that I needed to perform. So I actually am coached by somebody local. His name's Jim Jersovic, and he was actually quite the runner back in his day. Um, and so yeah,
That's incredible. I really apologize. I had no idea, but how did you meet this runner?
Jim.
Yep.
Yeah. So he used to be co-owner of some local stores here, and so when I left McCurdy, I needed somebody to just help me get better and listen to me and help me make the jumps that I needed to make the jumps. And somebody recommended that I reach out to Jim, and yeah, I think in 2000 he finished sixth in the 10K trials. So he was quite the runner back in his day, and he actually ran for I think he ran for Hanson's. Like he was one of their original runners. So yeah, I just reached out to him. I and he took me on like when I was in a really low place of my running, just because it's a really tough transition and things didn't end super smoothly. So yeah, he has really helped me develop like both mentally and as a runner these past couple of years. And I think that's part of the reason I think it's coming through in my training now and my races now. So
And how has your training differed working with Jim versus when you were with James?
Number one, it's a lot more personalized. So he definitely, and he like really listens to my feedback. I think it's just like the athlete communication is a lot more consistent. And we just gel really well together. So and my mileage is higher. So I think I've just developed to becoming like a stronger runner overall. My workouts, I understand why I'm doing the workouts and why I need to hit the paces that I'm hitting. He definitely he listens to all my feedback. We talk almost every day. I think just a lot more personalized training, and I don't know. He's just there for me when I need somebody to be there for me, and he understands how tough it is, and like what I'm going through. So yeah.
That's really incredible. I
Yeah.
think it's awesome when you can have a coach who's able to give you a great training plan, but then also be there to do all the other things that go into training that have nothing to do with running.
Yeah, I mean, I think you really need a strong support system. I think if you want to succeed, like I definitely was not performing and I was really struggling, and I don't think I was getting the support that I needed. And I felt kind of just that I needed somebody who was going to be able to like work with me and really listen and like want to see me succeed. For me to like help me become my best version of myself, not to not for them, but because they care about me as a person and care about me as an individual and developing to become the best runner that I can be.
Yeah, and in terms of those supports for your running, obviously you have a good connection with your coach.
Mhm.
I think we actually got in contact because of some connections through Was All Running. Are you still running
Mhm.
with them? Or I know if you aren't still that you were sponsored by UCAN at one point. What other connections do you have in the running world?
Yeah, so I actually, so the Wazelle thing was just through the trials. So it was a program as like the Underbirds. So there was a group of five of us for the trials, and it was a really great experience to meet the other women who were on the team, and it was a really fun to be a part of like a women-led brand. So that was just through the trials. So I'm no longer sponsored. And I don't take the UCAN gels anymore. I know they sponsor a lot of athletes and a lot of people have success with them. time. But I really struggled when I took them, and it could just be because I was learning a lot about nutrition and how much fueling I need to take. So I actually take these other gels. They're by a company called Crank Sports. They're e-gels. Not a lot of people have. I don't know how many people use them. They're not like on the feed or whatever, but a friend recommended that I try them because they're higher. Um, they have more calories in them and they have more electrolytes in them, and so I started using those too the past couple of years. So currently unsponsored. I support myself while I have my full-time job. But yeah, I just, again, my goal is to just become one of the best and see how fast I can get. And, I've learned a lot of things about myself and um, what I need to get there and who I like to be around when I'm successful, and when I'm failing, who still wants to be around me when I'm not running well, and wants to help me figure that stuff out. And I think I learned some of that stuff the past couple of years too.
Amazing. So, again, now today, as you head into the
Yeah.
London Marathon, besides your coach, who are those other support networks that are going to
Uh,
be rooting you on through your training and through race day?
Yeah, so my husband is super supportive. I mean, we've been together for a really long time. We met in college, and I think we both went through some really big life experiences, some really big health issues. So, he is like my number one supporter. So he's gonna be, and he's coming to London with me, and my family is like super important to me. My family's across the country, but yeah, I think I was brought up. You support your family. So, my parents are coming, and my mother-in-law is coming. So. I'm really excited that they're going to be able to be there for me. And then, just a couple of close friends that I talk to help keep me motivated and help keep me sane through these long days of training. But yeah, a pretty small, tight knit group. But it's what's working for me right now. So, yeah.
Within that tight knit group in your family, I did come across an article that mentioned you have a pet dog named Cooper. Do you ever get the chance to run
Yeah.
with him or take him to races?
Cooper. Oh, I love Cooper. So I actually got Cooper when I was recovering from my brain surgery. So he's been through it all with me too. No, he's not a runner. He's a sprinter. He likes to sprint after squirrels. So he doesn't get to travel to races. But yeah, he's definitely a good cuddler. After those long hard workouts, he loves those snuggles after. So he's always there. Yeah.
Aw, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so for London, what's the game plan travel wise? How many days out from the race do you like to fly in?
Yeah, so this will be my first trip to Europe. So we're actually gonna fly Wednesday night to Thursday morning. So I live in Columbus, but Cincinnati is like 2 hours away, and they have direct flights. So we're flying direct like Wednesday night. I think our flight we leave at like 10 p.m. and then we get in sometime. I don't know all the time change, but I don't know. It's like I don't know. I'm hoping to sleep through the night, and then we get in earlier in the early morning, not super early, but early afternoon maybe in London on Thursday. So I'll have like Thursday, Friday, and Saturday to adjust.
For sure, yeah. I think personally that's always what I find works well is just, go in the evening, and if you can sleep a little early, then you've pretty much had to sleep by the time you get there in the morning.
Yeah, yeah. So I think it's gonna work out well. I'm hopeful, and I don't couldn't go there too much sooner with work and stuff. And I think a couple of days is enough to get adjusted and settle in before it's race day.
And will you do any sightseeing when you get in, or is it purely race mode until that's done?
Yeah, I think it's gonna be purely race mode. We're gonna stay a couple days, like a week after, so plenty of time to do that stuff after the race. But before the race, I think I'm gonna be pretty focused and just kind of want to stay chill and in my happy place, and with my husband and stuff. So.
Nice. And do you have any specific goals that you're willing to share going into London?
Um, yeah, I mean, I definitely think I can cut a couple minutes off my time. So I think that's like my biggest goal is just to you know, see how fast I can go. There's always the goals of just making sure like I take all the nutrition that I need to take, and I think if I take all the nutrition I need to take, and just run, like run like I'm running my workouts, I think it can be a good day. Time goals are always kind of tough because you never know what the weather's gonna be like, but I definitely think I can run faster than I have previously, and you know I think Houston was a good start to the season, and I've been thrown some curveballs, falling at the start of the race and stuff. So I'm hoping for, just I know it's going to be tough. You can't underestimate how tough a marathon's going to be, but just hoping um, to run fast and see how fast I can go.
Yeah, and hoping that you can run super fast and that we have those perfect 10,
Yeah.
12. Well, I'm thinking Celsius. I should probably clarify here that I'm thinking more so
Okay.
40 to 45 Fahrenheit, but
Yeah, but I don't want 10
clear, clear
degrees,
day.
man. I'm gonna be freezing.
I know I'm probably mixing up all our listeners here talking about like mile repeats and paces and then getting into Celsius weather.
I one one funny thing about Toronto is Emily Durgan ran it too, and I remember before the race she was talking about like the how we're gonna see like the mile markers, and we were like they're not gonna be mile markers, they're gonna be in kilometers because it's just different, right? Like because we're used to seeing everything in mile markers, and then so that's one thing I have to wrap my head around is it's gonna be in kilometers, it's not gonna be in miles. So
Do you think that helps it go by faster to make more progress, or is it slower if you have to go through more milestones?
I don't know. I still leave my watch on miles, so I'm still gonna see the miles. But yeah, when you're like crossing like 30 kilometers, you're like, wow, that's like a lot, And they do come up quicker. So I don't know. Anyways, a marathon's a long time to be out there. So I guess at the end, it's easier to like to get your mind to wrap around, like just get to the next kilometer. It's not as far to get to that mark.
Yeah, I find I usually set my watch to like 3 or 5 kilometers because it's just a lot to have it be buzzing every K for a full marathon.
Yeah, that's true. That would be a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And then even beyond London, do you have any more long-term goals? Are you thinking at all about what you're going to do in the fall or even thinking as far out as 2028?
Yeah, I mean, I think the first step is getting faster at London. So, the time like running a 2:28 got me into London, and I'm hopeful that running faster here, like the goal is just to keep getting faster and faster, and it's not like I'm running my workouts a lot faster. It's just about executing my races better and taking like the correct fuel to make sure I can run the full distance at the speed that I want to run. So I'm hoping that if I can run the times that I think I can run at London, it's just going to open more doors to me. But this summer maybe do some shorter stuff on the roads. I would love to do a fast 10K sometime. So probably do some shorter stuff after London and then get back into the marathon swing sometime in the fall.
Yeah, and hopefully get a little time to explore London after the race.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, my husband, like he is coming up with like a list of stuff for us to see and different itineraries and stuff. So, like I said, I have not focused. I don't have the mental energy to do that either. I don't have the mental energy to Strava. I literally am just, might seem boring, like working and running right now. That's just it's tiring. So that's where my focus is, and he's helping plan the other parts of the trip afterwards, and keeping me sane to make sure I get to the line healthy and ready to go.
Incredible. Well, Molly, I'm going to be rooting so hard for you in London. You mind telling me what day and in what time, I guess locally and also back home for Ohio is that taking place in case anyone wants to check the results?
Oh, I don't even then convert London time to Ohio time.
Well,
I don't
what time
know.
in London? You don't have to convert it.
I don't even. It's April 27th, sometime in the morning in London. I don't know what that means on Ohio time. So,
Yeah, I love that answer though because I'd be hyper fixated and be able to tell you to the minute even if it's like 7:32. But I love how loose you are that you're not even fixated on the time.
no, yeah. I mean, I think, like I said, once I get there, I just need to switch over to London time and London mode, So, yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I'm so excited how well it sounds like all training is going and to see
Thank
what you
you.
can do when you throw down in London. So best of luck and thanks again for coming on the podcast.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Pleasure having you. Thanks, Molly.
Thank you. Bye.